Hi guys, this is Chantal and today we are going to be making a Mediterranean gluten-free vanilla cake. So just quickly before we start, I want to let you know that I'm cutting the recipe in half. And I also want to give you a quick rundown of the list of the ingredients that we are going to be using today. So I have right here 2 eggs, half a cup of milk with, how much vanilla? With half a tablespoon and 3/4 teaspoons of vanilla extract, and over here I have a third of a cup of vegetable oil. You could use any type of oil. You could use canola oil if you want, and also I have here sugar and some baking powder. I forgot exactly how much sugar I put in here, but I followed my recipe. And I also have a 1/4 cup of desiccated coconut, I think that's what they call that, and 1 1/4 cups of my Chantal's all-purpose gluten-free flour blend, and I'll also be leaving the link for this recipe down in the description box below. And in here I also added the zest of half of a lemon, a 1/4 teaspoon of salt, and I meant to put the baking powder in here but I accidentally put it in with the sugar. And for the full recipe, I will be leaving the link for it down in the description box below, so be looking for that, guys. So let's go ahead and start. So the first thing I'm going to do is to beat these eggs over here. And I also want to mention that I have preheated my oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. And these eggs are room temperature. And then to the eggs I'm going to add the milk and vanilla extract. And then we are going to be adding in the oil. So that's our wet ingredients. And now into this bowl, I'm going to add in all the dry ingredients. And oh, the lemon smells so good. And then we are going to give them a quick mix. Okay, so I'm just going to give these a quick mix just to make sure that all the ingredients are well incorporated. And this step is, I think, super important before you add these ingredients into the cake, into the wet mixture, I should say. This is, all of these ingredients are the cake. Oh, it smells so good. So this recipe is really my childhood's favorite recipe, and I have replicated it exactly, I believe, to what I remembered it to be. And this is my absolute favorite cake out of all the cakes that I've ever eaten. I don't believe this needs any frosting or anything. This is just amazing as it is. So now we are going to add our dry ingredients into the wet ingredients. And once you do that, you're going to want to give it a really good mix. You don't want in there to you don't want to have in there any lumps or anything like that. You just want to have a smooth batter, as smooth as you can. And you're going to need some muscles to beat this batter because it's kind of thick. It's unlike a wheat batter. If you have experience in baking wheat cakes, this is not a runny batter, that's definitely. So once you get the batter to the consistency that you want that it should be, or where you have no lumps, there we go, I think I got it where I need it to be. And I'm just kind of beating it like this so that if there are any lumps, I would get rid of them this way. It's also easier on my wrist. There you go. You guys can see this looks pretty creamy, smooth, It's pretty good from where I'm standing. Okay. Okay, so right here I have a baking pan that I have already sprayed with some baking spray, and then I sprinkled some of my gluten-free all-purpose flour. And now we are going to put the batter in here. If you want, you don't have to sprinkle it with flour. You could use, you could line the pan with some parchment paper. What I would do is just take the bottom of the pan and trace the, put it on top of the parchment paper and trace around it with a pencil, and then cut that shape. And you're going to put it inside the pan, and that's just going to be the perfect diameter for you. It's going to fit in snug and perfect. So now I'm going to take my batter and I'm going to scoop it in here as best as I can. I'm going to try to use the spatula after in a little bit. And this is like a tea, like a cake that is nice with tea in the morning or in the afternoon. If you're a person that likes to have some sweets in the morning, kind of like you were used to having donuts or whatever it is that you had before you went on a gluten-free diet, this is a perfect replacement. And in the future I will be working on some donut recipes as well. But for now, this is an absolutely amazing cake, and I think it's just perfect for these occasions. Or if you have a brunch, you're inviting some friends over and you just want a sweet treat. My husband says that gluten-free desserts are way better than wheat desserts, and he knows because he eats wheat. I don't, but I know that this is an amazing cake and I love it. Take the excess batter out of this over here, if I can. I'm just going to tap it on the side like that. It's a little tricky. There we go. Good enough. Okay, and now I'm just going to smooth out the batter by tapping on it, kind of up and down motion, gently. Not pushing too hard. You also don't want to move the flour that you put underneath. Now the reason for putting flour is for two reasons. One is it's going to prevent the cake from sticking. The oil does help, of course, too, and I'm using a non-stick pan. And the second reason is to prevent the cake from burning at the bottom. And same with the parchment paper also. And what I like to do sometimes is to put the cake on a, put the cake pan onto a baking sheet and bake it that way. If your oven runs a little bit on the hot side, you can do that so that you don't burn your cake at the bottom. I used to experience that in our old oven, and so that's what I would do. Even if I did put it on the center rack, sometimes that used to happen with me. So you could do that. Okay. So this looks good right here, and you can just give it a quick tap if there are any air bubbles. Sorry, you could give it a quick tap if there are any air bubbles to remove the air bubbles to to get the air bubbles to go up to the surface, and kind of flatten out the cake. It's a thick batter, you can't really flatten it out that much, but once it bakes, it's going to flatten out and be nice and smooth at the top. Okay, so now I'm going to take this cake in here and I'm going to put it on the center rack of a 350-degree preheated oven, and it's going to bake for 20 to 25 minutes. And once it reaches the 20-minute mark, you want to insert a toothpick in there, and when it comes out, you want it to be dry, but also you want to have like a little bit tiny crumbs on the toothpick. If you don't have any crumbs, that means your cake is too dry, and you don't want a dry cake. That's just not going to taste pleasant. It's also It's just the texture is not pleasant at all. So you want to take it out once you have these crumbs, not gummy texture. You don't want any gummy texture on the toothpick. So I'll show you, once we reach that point, I'll show you how the toothpick should look like. So now I'm going to put it on the center rack at a 350-degree oven and bake it for 20 to 25 minutes. So I set my timer on the oven for 20 minutes, but if your oven runs hot, like I said, you want to make sure to check it maybe a couple minutes before the 20-minute mark, but make sure that the cake is set before you open that oven door, because if you open the oven door while the cake is still moist on the inside, that's going to deflate the cake, and you don't want a deflated cake. It's going to be gummy on the inside if it deflates. If you like that, whatever, it's going to be like sort of a brownie texture. You could do that, but I don't like a deflated cake. I like that kind of nice crumb textury cake, and that's soft and moist. And this cake, by the way, is super moist, and it's just delicious. Like I said, it's delicious. You're gonna love it. So now I'm waiting for the cake. Also, if your oven tends to be on the cooler side, you might want to bake it for a little bit longer. Again, keep checking on the cake once it reaches that 20-minute mark. And if you live in high altitudes, you might need to bake it for a little bit longer. I don't really have that much experience with that, because our altitude is what, like maybe 400 or something like that, or 600 max. So it's not like a 1,000. What do they measure altitude with anyways? I forgot. Anyways, so let's wait for the cake. So the cake just came out of the oven. I put it in there for 20 minutes. After poking the cake in several places, I don't know if you guys can see, there's a tiny bit of crumbs. I think I could have even took it out a little bit earlier, maybe 1 or 2 minutes earlier. That wouldn't have hurt, but I think it's going to be good. And I'm going to let this cake cool now in this pan for 5 minutes, and then we are going to transfer it onto a wire rack after the 5 minutes are over. So I'm going to put a 5 minutes on my timer over here and wait for this to cool slightly. Okay, so 5 minutes have passed, and now we are going to transfer this onto a cooling rack. I'm gonna put the cooling rack here so that you guys can see what I'm doing. That's how you do stuff with a baby. You gotta grow another arm. Okay, I'm gonna try to flip it over. No. There we go. Success! Okay, so now imagine we let this cake cool down completely before we cut into it, because right now I'm going to cut into it to show you guys what this cake looks like on the inside. Now the best thing would be is to not cut into it right now, because you want that moisture to be trapped in there as the cake cools down, so that the cake doesn't dry out. But for your sake, I'm just going to cut it right now because I don't have another cake prepared, and I'm going to show you what the inside looks like. She doesn't want to go to her dad. So yes, I do have a knife and a baby. It's okay, don't worry. I am a professional. Don't do this at home. Okay, so I'm gonna cut into it. Oh, it's so spongy too. It's great. Oh, you guys, I hope you guys can see the steam. I don't know, I feel like the lights are stopping the steam, but the steam looks so cool on my end over here. But look at this crumb. Look at this. This is just amazing, isn't it? It's wonderful. Now I gotta go take pictures. Oh, you want some nam? Okay, hold on. She wants nam. Nam means food. This is hot. Are you excited? Okay. Ready? Here you go. Nom, nom, nom. Is it yummy? You're so cute. She's getting shy because everyone's looking at her, to see what her expression is going to be like. What do you think? By everyone, I mean our family. What do you think? You're so cute. Is it yummy? Do you want more? That has flour on it here. Do you want more? Yum! You're such a cute. Okay, it's baby approved. Alright, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you learned something new. I hope you try this recipe and some more gluten-free recipes. For more gluten-free recipes, head on over to peacefullivingnh.com, and I'll see you again next time. Thank you guys for watching. Bye.